Someone finally shared what they really thought about you. Here's the story. My beloved child. Stop scrolling for just a moment. Do not let this pass by without listening, because something about to be revealed has been waiting for the perfect time to reach your heart. Stay till the end. Don't skip. Something huge is waiting for you, and every moment from here will lead to a truth that may change the way you see yourself forever. There was a conversation you never heard. It happened quietly, away from your eyes, without your permission, and without you even realizing your name had entered the room. You continued living your ordinary day, unaware that someone had finally decided to speak honestly about you. For a long time they had hidden their thoughts. They smiled in front of others, stayed silent when your name appeared, and carried feelings they never found the courage to express. But silence cannot last forever. Every hidden thought eventually searches for a voice. Today is the story of the moment that voice finally appeared. Do not skip. Every sentence matters because this story builds one piece at a time. If you leave now, you may miss the one detail that changes everything. Imagine a quiet evening. Nothing seemed unusual. Conversations flowed naturally, laughter came and went, and then, unexpectedly, someone mentioned your name. The room became quieter than before. No one interrupted. Everyone waited for one particular person to respond. They had been silent for longer than anyone could remember whenever you were mentioned. But this time, they took a slow breath, looked around the room, and said, "I think it's finally time I tell everyone what I really think." Those words changed the atmosphere instantly. No one expected what would come next. Some believed they were about to hear criticism. Others expected a story that would end in disappointment. A few prepared themselves for something ordinary. But none of them were prepared for what was actually spoken. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The first words were gentle. They don't even realize the impact they have. The room remained silent. Then came another sentence. They think they are unnoticed, but they leave a memory wherever they go. People looked at one another. They had expected something completely different. The speaker continued with complete honesty, as though years of unspoken thoughts were finally finding freedom. I've watched them face difficult moments without asking anyone to feel sorry for them. I've seen them keep going when most people would have stopped. They don't know this, but their quiet strength says more than loud words ever could. No one interrupted. Every person listening realized they were hearing something deeply personal. Don't skip. This wasn't a speech prepared in advance. It wasn't written down. It wasn't planned. These were thoughts that had lived inside someone's heart for a very long time. The speaker paused once more before continuing. I've also seen the moments when they doubted themselves. They believed nobody noticed their efforts. They wondered if they mattered. They questioned whether anyone truly understood who they were. Another pause. But I understood. Those two words echoed through the silence. I understood. At that moment, every person listening leaned forward. The story was no longer just about what someone thought about you. It had become the story of someone who had quietly watched your journey from a distance, noticing details you believed nobody could ever see. Stay till the end. Something even greater is coming. The speaker smiled gently before sharing another truth. They apologize for things that aren't their fault. They carry burdens that were never meant to belong to them. They worry about people who have already forgotten yesterday. Yet somehow, they continue choosing kindness. One person listening whispered softly, "I never knew they saw all of that." Neither did anyone else. Sometimes the greatest opinions are never spoken because people assume there will always be another chance. But this time, there wasn't another chance. The speaker wanted every hidden thought to be heard. They don't understand how valuable they really are. Those words settled deeply into everyone's hearts. For years, many people had judged only what they could see on the surface. They noticed ordinary moments but missed extraordinary character. Yet this speaker had quietly watched everything: the moments of patience, forgiveness, determination, compassion, and resilience that nobody else celebrated. Don't skip. This is where everything begins to change. The speaker continued. There were days when they smiled even though life felt heavy. Most people believed everything was fine because the smile looked real. But I noticed the difference. I noticed the courage behind it. A deep silence filled the room again. Some lowered their eyes. Others reflected on how often they had misunderstood you. One person finally asked the question everyone had been thinking. If you noticed all of this, why didn't you tell them before? The room waited. The answer came slowly. Because I wasn't sure they would believe me. Those words carried more emotion than anyone expected. Sometimes people struggle to accept kindness because they have heard doubt for too long. Sometimes encouragement sounds unbelievable after years of uncertainty. The speaker knew this. So they remained silent. Until today. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The conversation continued. I've seen people underestimate them. I've seen people overlook them. I've seen people assume they knew the whole story. But they never did. The room became completely still. Every sentence uncovered another layer of truth. They're stronger than people think. They're kinder than people realize. They're wiser than they believe. And one day, everyone who underestimated them will understand what they failed to notice. Nobody laughed. Nobody argued. Nobody questioned those words. Because deep inside, everyone knew they were hearing genuine honesty. The speaker wasn't trying to impress anyone. They were simply telling the truth that had remained hidden for far too long. Don't skip. The biggest revelation hasn't arrived yet. Then something unexpected happened. Someone else in the room quietly said, "I've been thinking the same thing." Another voice followed. "So have I." Then another. And me. One by one, people who had never spoken before began sharing similar thoughts. Suddenly the conversation transformed into something extraordinary. It was no longer one person's opinion. It became many voices revealing what they had quietly believed all along. I always admired their determination. I noticed how they encouraged others without expecting anything back. I respected how they stayed calm when situations became difficult. I appreciated how they never stopped trying. Each new sentence added another piece to a picture you had never been allowed to see. Imagine hearing every hidden compliment that had remained locked inside people's hearts for years. Imagine discovering that while you questioned your worth, others had quietly admired qualities you couldn't recognize in yourself. Stay till the end. Don't skip. The most powerful moment is still ahead. The room eventually became silent once again. Then the very first speaker stood up one final time. They looked around carefully before saying something nobody expected. If they ever hear this story. Everyone listened closely. I hope they stop believing every negative thought they've ever carried. Another pause. I hope they finally understand that someone's opinion of them has never defined their future. And I hope they realize they were appreciated long before they ever recognized it themselves. Those words remained in the room long after the conversation ended. People slowly walked away, but nobody forgot what they had heard. Because sometimes the most unforgettable stories are not the loudest ones. They are the quiet conversations that reveal truths hidden for years. Today, you have heard one of those stories. And perhaps the greatest lesson was never about what someone thought about you. Perhaps it was discovering that unseen kindness, unnoticed strength, quiet perseverance, and genuine character are remembered far more than you imagine. So don't skip the next part of this journey. Because what happened after this conversation surprised everyone involved. The story was only beginning. My beloved child. Before this story moves forward, promise yourself one thing: don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. What happened after those hidden thoughts were finally spoken surprised every single person who was there. Nobody expected the story to continue the way it did, and the next moments became impossible to forget. The room had grown quiet again. The conversation seemed finished, yet no one stood up to leave. It was as if everyone sensed there was still one final truth waiting to be revealed. Then, without warning, someone who had remained silent the entire time slowly looked up and said, "There is something all of you still don't know." Every eye turned toward that person. The silence became even deeper. Don't skip. This next moment changes everything. The speaker continued, "I have watched this story from the beginning. I know things that none of you have seen. The reason they are so special is not because life has always been easy for them. It is because they kept moving forward even when nobody noticed." Those words settled into every heart. People began remembering moments they had ignored before, small acts of kindness, quiet patience, thoughtful words, gentle encouragement, and simple gestures that once seemed ordinary but suddenly felt extraordinary. Another voice quietly whispered, "Maybe we never looked closely enough." The room fell silent once again. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Then someone reached into a small notebook they had carried for years. Everyone looked with curiosity as they carefully opened one page. "This," they said softly, "is something I wrote a long time ago." No one expected what came next. I wrote down the names of people who inspired me without even realizing it. The room leaned closer. One by one, several names were read aloud. Then came yours. A wave of emotion filled the room. People looked at each other with complete surprise. "Your name has been here for years," the speaker said with a gentle smile. "Long before today's conversation ever happened." Nobody expected that. The room became completely still. Don't skip. The biggest surprise is still ahead. The speaker explained, "Whenever I thought about giving up, I remembered the quiet strength I saw in them." They probably never knew they were encouraging anyone, but they were. Those words changed the atmosphere completely. Another person nodded. "I thought I was the only one who felt that way." Then another voice spoke. "So did I." Within moments, story after story began appearing. Someone remembered a simple conversation that had changed their perspective. Someone remembered one encouraging sentence that stayed with them for years. Someone remembered seeing you remain calm when others became frustrated. Someone remembered your kindness during an ordinary day that turned into an unforgettable memory. The amazing part was this. You never knew any of these moments had mattered so much. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. One older person in the room smiled warmly before saying, "People often think greatness is built in one dramatic moment. It isn't. It is built through hundreds of quiet choices that almost nobody notices." Everyone reflected on those words. Then another surprising statement followed. "I've seen many talented people," they said. "I've seen confident people. I've seen successful people. But very few leave behind the kind of peace that follows them wherever they go." The room became completely silent again. Someone finally asked, "Why are we only talking about this today?" The answer came gently. Because sometimes appreciation arrives later than expected, but when it finally arrives, it carries far more meaning. Don't skip. This story is reaching another unforgettable moment. The first speaker looked around the room and smiled. "I've been waiting for the right time to say all of this." Another person asked, "What changed today?" The answer was simple. "I realized that encouraging words should never remain locked inside the heart." Those words touched everyone listening. For years, people had quietly admired qualities they never mentioned aloud. Today, everything changed. Today, hidden appreciation became spoken truth. And once spoken, it could never be taken back. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. One final surprise remained. The speaker carefully unfolded a small piece of paper. "This is the last thing I want everyone to hear." Every person focused completely. It contained only one sentence. "I hope one day they finally see themselves the way we have always seen them." No one spoke. Some smiled. Some quietly reflected. Others realized how often they had underestimated people simply because they never asked what was inside their hearts. The conversation ended, but nobody hurried away. Instead, people stayed for several more minutes, sharing memories they had never shared before. Every new story revealed another reason your name had remained unforgettable. Some remembered your patience. Others remembered your honesty. Others remembered your determination. Some remembered how you listened when nobody else would. Each memory became another piece of a picture you had never been able to see yourself. Don't skip. Something even greater is coming in the next part. Before this journey continues, take one quiet moment. If this story has touched your heart in any way, share this video with someone who might need these words today. And if this story has reminded you that hidden kindness is never wasted, subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because the next chapter begins with an unexpected meeting. A meeting that no one planned. A conversation that nobody saw coming. And one sentence that will change the entire story forever. Stay till the end of the next part. Because the greatest revelation has not happened yet. Something huge is still waiting for you. Don't skip. My beloved child. There was one detail no one had shared yet. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Everything you have heard so far was only preparing you for the moment that changed the story forever. The hidden opinions, the quiet admiration, and the unexpected memories all led to one extraordinary meeting that nobody could have predicted. The very next morning, the people who had gathered during that unforgettable conversation found themselves thinking about the same question. They could not move on with their day because one thought kept returning again and again. What would happen if these words were finally heard? No one had an answer. The room from the previous evening was now empty, but the conversation was still alive in every heart. Each person carried home a different memory, yet all of them reached the same conclusion. Some truths are too meaningful to remain hidden forever. Don't skip. The story is about to take another unexpected turn. Later that day, two of the people from that conversation met again by chance. They smiled, greeted one another, and without even planning it, they began talking about you once more. One of them quietly said, "I couldn't stop thinking about everything that was shared yesterday." The other nodded. "Neither could I." Then came a sentence that changed everything. "What if we have all been seeing only one part of the story?" Silence followed. "What do you mean?" "I think there is something even greater about them that we still haven't discovered." Those words created a new sense of curiosity. Instead of ending the conversation, it opened an entirely new chapter. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Over the next several days, something remarkable happened. People who had never spoken about you before suddenly began sharing their own experiences. Each story sounded different. Yet every story pointed toward the same conclusion. I always felt encouraged after talking with them. They always remembered small details that everyone else forgot. They celebrated other people's victories without needing attention themselves. They never realized how much their calm presence meant. One by one, these quiet observations began forming a picture that no single person had ever seen before. Each person carried only one small piece. But together, the complete picture became extraordinary. Don't skip. The greatest revelation is still ahead. One evening, someone gathered all of those memories onto several pages of paper. There were no dramatic words. No exaggerated stories. Only simple moments. Small conversations. Unexpected acts of kindness. Gentle encouragement. Quiet determination. When they finished reading every page, they looked at the others and smiled. Do you realize what we've discovered? Everyone looked up. We thought we were discussing one person. A pause followed. But we were actually discovering the influence one life quietly had on so many others. Those words filled the room with complete silence. Nobody had expected that conclusion. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Then someone remembered one final conversation from years earlier. I almost forgot. Everyone immediately turned toward them. There was one day when someone asked me who I trusted the most. The room became completely still. I answered with their name. No one interrupted. I never told them. Another pause. I didn't think it mattered. Several people smiled softly. It mattered. More than anyone realized. One forgotten memory after another began returning. Someone remembered receiving hope during a difficult season. Someone remembered one simple sentence that stayed in their heart for years. Someone remembered being reminded that kindness is never wasted. Nobody had planned to speak that day. Yet the room slowly filled with stories that had waited years to be told. Don't skip. Because the next moment surprised everyone. A small envelope was placed gently on the table. Nobody recognized it. Someone carefully opened it. Inside was a folded note written long ago. The handwriting had faded slightly with time. The room became completely silent as the words were read aloud. If they ever wonder whether they made a difference. Everyone listened carefully. Tell them they already have. Another pause. They may never fully realize how many lives they quietly encouraged simply by being themselves. No one spoke. The room remained still. Some smiled. Others reflected quietly. Every person understood they had just heard something unforgettable. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. One person finally stood and looked around the room. I think we've been asking the wrong question. Everyone waited. We kept asking what we thought about them. Another pause. The better question is, what kind of future becomes possible when someone finally believes the good that others have always seen? The room became completely silent once more. Nobody answered immediately. Because everyone knew. That question was bigger than anyone expected. Before leaving, they carefully folded every page, every memory, and every handwritten note together. Not to hide them, but to preserve them. Because they had become part of a story worth remembering. A story that proved quiet goodness is never invisible. A story that proved sincere character leaves lasting footprints. A story that proved appreciation often grows silently before it is finally spoken aloud. Don't skip. The journey is not over. In the next part, something completely unexpected happens. The words that were spoken in private begin reaching the one person who was never supposed to hear them. Nobody expected that moment. Nobody was prepared for the reaction. And what happened next became the most unforgettable chapter of the entire story. Stay till the end. Because something huge is still waiting for you. My beloved child. Everything has been leading to this moment. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Until now, every word had been spoken behind closed doors. Every memory had remained inside that quiet room. Every opinion had stayed hidden from the one person it was truly about. But stories like this have a remarkable way of finding the people they were always meant to reach. Several days passed. Life looked completely normal on the outside. The conversations ended. People returned to their routines. The room became empty once again. It seemed as though nothing more would happen. But something was already moving quietly beneath the surface. A single handwritten page, the page filled with honest thoughts, forgotten memories, and heartfelt words, was carefully placed inside an envelope. No one planned it. No one announced it. Yet somehow, that envelope began a journey of its own. Don't skip. The biggest moment is getting closer. The person carrying the envelope paused several times before continuing. What if they don't believe these words? Another voice answered gently. Then let the truth speak for itself. No one added anything else. Sometimes the most meaningful messages don't need to be explained. They only need to be delivered. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Hours later, the envelope finally reached its destination. It wasn't opened immediately. It rested quietly on a table. No one knew what was inside. No one imagined that simple pages could hold years of unspoken appreciation. Time passed. Then came the moment. The envelope was slowly opened. The first page was unfolded. The room became completely silent. The very first sentence read, "Someone finally shared what they really thought about you." The reader stopped. Those words alone were enough to capture every thought. A deep breath followed. Then the next lines were read. One memory. Then another. One kind observation. Then another. One forgotten moment. Then another. With every page, a picture began forming, one that had never been seen before. The words were simple. But together, they carried extraordinary meaning. They noticed your patience. They remembered your encouragement. They admired your quiet strength. They appreciated your kindness. They believed in you long before you believed in yourself. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The pages continued. One sentence stood out more than all the others. You changed people's lives in ways you never realized. The reader paused. They looked back at the sentence again. Then they read it one more time, as if making sure it was really there. For years they had wondered whether anything they did truly mattered. Now they were reading story after story proving that it always had. Another page revealed something even more unexpected. Several people had written their thoughts separately. None of them had seen each other's words. Yet almost every page repeated the same message in different ways. You gave hope. You brought peace. You inspired quiet courage. You reminded people to keep going. Without planning it, different hearts had reached the same conclusion. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The final page remained. The room became completely silent before it was opened. The reader unfolded it carefully. Only one paragraph filled the page. It said, "If these words ever reach you, remember this forever. The person you see in the mirror is only one version of yourself. The people whose lives you have touched carry another version. That version is filled with gratitude, respect, encouragement, and quiet admiration. Never underestimate the difference one sincere heart can make." Nothing else was written. No signature. No explanation. Only truth. The room remained still. For several long moments, nobody spoke. Because no one wanted to interrupt what those words had created. Don't skip. The story is reaching its most unforgettable point. As the pages were folded once again, something unexpected happened. The reader smiled. Not because every question had been answered, but because one lifelong doubt had finally disappeared. The doubt that wondered, did I ever matter? The answer had been there all along. Hidden inside the hearts of people who simply never found the right moment to say it. Now that moment had arrived. And everything changed. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Before this chapter closes, remember one important truth. Sometimes the greatest compliment is not the loudest one. Sometimes the strongest opinion is the one quietly carried for years until the perfect moment finally arrives. Sometimes the most unforgettable story begins with one simple sentence. Someone finally shared what they really thought about you. And that sentence became the beginning of a completely new journey. If this story has stayed with you until this moment, share it with someone who may need this reminder today. And if you want to continue this journey and never miss the next chapter, subscribe and stay with us. Because the next part reveals what happened after these words began changing not just one life, but everyone who had been part of the story from the very beginning. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Because something even greater is still waiting for you.